Hi, I'm Nisha DeGaring, host of Good Things Utah, and I've been a longtime supporter of Todd's Beliefcast. I hope you find inspiration in the courageous stories shared by the amazing people Todd features on his show. The guests serve as shoulders for us to stand on, allowing us to see a little further and cultivate belief in oneself. Remember, you have the dignity and power to change. I encourage you to keep striving and believing in yourself. Enjoy today's podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Todd Sylvester, your host of the Beliefcast. Today on my show, I sit down with Ronda Davis, a trauma therapist, speaker, and founder of Healing Feathers. Ronda's work is rooted in one powerful truth: you are not broken. After experiencing deep personal loss, including the passing of her father, Ronda's life took a turn that led her to explore the healing on a much deeper level, connecting the mind, the body, and the stories we tell ourselves. Through her work in complex trauma, grief, and inner child healing, she's helping people move out of survival mode into a life of presence, peace, and purpose. This conversation is for anyone who feels stuck, overwhelmed, or likely constantly fighting something internally. Ronda reminds us that healing isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who we've always been. And I love that. So welcome, Ronda. Thanks for being on my show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah. A mutual friend of ours, Julie,
Yes.
who we love so much, introduced us. And since then, I've kind of followed what you do. And I'm really impressed with what you do to help other people.
Thank you.
And I know there's a story behind that. And that's why I'm excited for our listeners to hear this today. So we're very fortunate to have you and to hear these amazing words from you today. So why don't we start by, just letting our listeners know where you grew up and maybe a little bit about your childhood.
Yeah. I get asked this question a lot, and I answer it differently every time. My childhood was very, very different. And for a lot of people, it wouldn't be what you expect.
Okay.
I actually was born with a mom in prison. She, due to her alcoholism, actually was put in prison for about 2 years because she hit and almost killed someone.
Okay.
And my birth story is also one that is tragic and also a celebration. So the day of my birth, about 30 minutes after I was born, my uncle passed away in a tragic car accident.
Wow.
So my family really fell apart. It was a celebration, but it was also a very tragic day. So my story really starts from the day of my birth.
Right.
And yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that part. Dang, that is I can't even imagine what the family was going through at that time.
Yeah.
Obviously so happy and joyful that you're here.
Yeah.
And then at the same time losing a loved one.
Yeah. It was, and obviously being born and being younger, I just had actually this conversation with my aunt yesterday. As my family is now hearing, me speak more and be on more stages and just share more of my story, because it's genuinely what makes people heal. And it's a big reason, what I'm doing with my brand and my business. But as I share more and more of the story that I had of my childhood from my perspective, my aunt, for example, called me yesterday and she was like, "I'm so sorry. I just realized that I didn't do more for you." And I explained it to her that, I didn't understand either until I got older and did my own healing. But as that little kid, I took responsibility for my uncle's death because my family fell apart from that day, and it became, everyone loved Rhonda and everyone was so excited to have this little girl be part of their lives. But, my mom was in prison. My dad they weren't really supposed to have me. I was a total surprise. So my dad turned his life around really quickly with the help of my family and my grandparents. But there was just a lot of chaos. And as that little kid, we absorb those there's narratives.
Yes,
and
you
so
do.
when you're hearing the grief or when you're not hearing your family talk about it, you're just hearing the feud and the conflict and the fights. And then I have two parents that are in constant battle.
Yeah.
Like that little kid is like, what is this? What is this world?
Yeah, it turns your world upside down. And it's almost like, again, as a kid too, you didn't know any different either at the same time. But man, I can't imagine, how that's, like you said, starts to shape what you think about yourself, what you think about the world.
Yeah.
And, and I know you're big on this, the stories that we tell ourselves, how that becomes our reality, even if it's negative or even not even true, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think that was a big thing as a little kid. I just weirdly had this intuition that I knew I was going to be different. I had a lot of people, I grew up in the 90s. I grew up with a single father, and people would come up to me and say, how are you going to be okay? And I was like, what?
Yeah.
And what they were assuming is because I didn't have a female present, I didn't have a mom to come home to. And so people would say, you know, who's going to talk to you about boys? Who's going to take you bra shopping? And for me, it was like my dad.
Yeah, my dad's going to do all that.
Yeah, but society kind of shapes us as if you
Yeah.
don't have this normal looking family, you somehow aren't going to turn out okay. And so a lot of my childhood, actually, I was told, you know, who I wouldn't become and what I wouldn't achieve. And there was, I want to say it was silent, but really, honestly, it wasn't. There was a loud part of me that I'm like, I'm going to prove you wrong. You tell me that I can't just because of my childhood or my parents.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to show you that I can, and I'm going to do it better, and probably better than you can ever imagine.
Wow. Little competitive spirit in you.
I don't know if competitive or stubborn, maybe.
Maybe.
I think. Especially, and a lot
Yeah.
of that was my mom. You know, she had a lot of negative things to say about me because of her own shame. And
Yeah.
weirdly, again, I understood that from a very young age. And so I never really held that against her, but I used it as motivation. You know, she thought I would graduate high school and just come be an alcoholic with her and take care of her, where I was like, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to be a therapist. I'm going to do these things just because you think I'm going to follow in your footsteps.
Wow, I love that. And you know, there's this quote out of the book, "Live Your Life in Crescendo," that goes like this: "You never know how strong you are until that hidden strength is forced to come forward."
Yeah.
And you, at such a young age, were forced, really, to really dig deep and go, "Wow, I got to do something different. I'm going to prove to these people that I can do this, and I'm not going to maybe buy into that narrative." And for you to have that kind of perspective as a child, I mean, that's really rare, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. A lot of it I will attribute to my Uncle Ron.
Okay.
I know this is, you know, kind of a debated topic, but I would see my Uncle Ron, and I didn't know that, again, as a kid, like having your uncle as a spirit next to you as a spirit guide was abnormal.
Yeah.
It wasn't until one of the days my dad got out of the shower and our door closed, and that's how my uncle used to talk to me. He would leave the room and slam the door. And for me, it was so normal.
Really?
And so
Okay.
I was on my dad's bed. I think I was like reading or something. And I just remember my dad got out of the shower. He walked in his closet, was getting dressed, and his bedroom door slammed. And he jumped because he realized that I was on his bed still. And, you know, for me, I'm like, what? And he was like, what was that? And I said, that was Uncle Ron leaving. And I will never forget, like, the face he gave me was like, what?
Wow. How old were you at this time?
I bet you I wasn't older than 6.
Jeez. That's amazing.
But
I love
that
that.
was
It gives
that
me
moment.
chills.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I think part of that, you know, was a part of me that I had that attachment, you know, with my Uncle Ron, and it was so normal for me. But the other part is I was that innocent little kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I really think this is what I'm born to do, is be a role model, a speaker, an educator, a leader for other people.
Yeah.
Because I knew at a really young age, especially working with kids, that's how I got started my career, is that I really wanted to be the voice for little kids to show them that, okay, your parents are drug addicts, or you didn't live in the typical family, or maybe you were neglected or abused by a parent. It doesn't mean that you're going to follow in the same footsteps.
Right.
And I really believe that just how your story starts doesn't mean that that's how it has to be followed or that that's how it has to end.
Yeah.
That we're capable of changing our lives. And I really wanted to be proof of that.
Wow, that's powerful. So for those listening, and you know, I'm with you on how powerful that story, that narrative that we play in our heads.
Yeah.
Tell us, like how did you recognize that, and what did you try to shape it into? And again, obviously you had the influences of your dad, and then just the influence of your uncle even.
Yeah.
Still. How did you start to reshape that and realize that was really important?
Honestly, I think it was the belief system my dad installed in me.
Okay.
Growing up, society, our caregivers, they place expectations. And one of the strong expectations is that if you're in your family, their love and respect are just given. And so because of the relationship I had with my mom and how little she showed up for me and the types of situations I was put in, my dad created a value for me that love and respect is earned. It's not just given. And that really stayed with me through friendships,
I love that.
other family. And I think that's also what has made me such a strong person and a good friend, is that just because you're in my life as said family member or said friend doesn't mean that you have to love or respect me. Like the way that I show up, how I show up is what should grow our relationship.
Yeah.
So at a young age, I really took that to heart, and I really wanted to be people's, best friends. I really wanted to be the best daughter that I could be.
Yeah.
And I think I just really started to evaluate and see relationships clearly. I've had a lot of clients over the years that I'm not typical of how I grew up, and I don't have quote unquote mommy issues. I grew up in a lot of the trauma and things that my mom and I went through. I really lived my life okay having that separation.
Yeah.
It was hard actually for everyone else around me, because I think they felt guilty for my mom, or they felt guilty for their own parts.
Yeah.
But that was that little kid. I just kept saying, but she's the mom. Like, she has an active role in this. Why is it me to just fix and solve? And so I started to establish kind of those boundaries, those values, those expectations with relationships of just because you're here doesn't mean I have to give myself or lose parts of myself to you because you're a said person in my life.
Yeah. Wow. Well said. I love that, because I say this a lot with our clients here, when people say, well, you deserve to be happy. Well, not necessarily. If I'm out doing bad things to people and I'm being dishonest and I'm manipulating and I'm, breaking the law all the time, do I really deserve to be happy? I mean, I may deserve the opportunity to cultivate that, but I have to earn it. I have to start doing it. And same with the respect thing. And I love that you said that. I think that is I think we overlook that sometimes. It is earned for sure. I have to earn people's respect. I have to earn it with my family, my friends, and my clients kind of thing. So I love that you said that. Yeah.
I think it's an important message. And I mean, I've had people disagree with me, obviously. And it's a value system. You can disagree with me, but this is, I believe that that's something that has made me stronger with my own boundaries, but also it's made me more cultivating in my relationships and how I show up for those ones that I want to be part of or want to grow.
Wow. I love that. So, I mean, you've been through a lot in your life, obviously. And, I know there was some stuff in your life, including eventually the loss of your father. If you wouldn't mind kind of sharing, I know this is probably a sacred thing to you, but I would love our listeners and myself to hear that.
Yeah. So I lost my dad. It just passed his 8-year anniversary. Okay. So it's been almost a decade. Obviously it was something you never plan for, especially at a younger age. I was only 27. And so for me, it was kind of my, just figuring my life out, really. Yeah. My dad and I were best friends. He was, my secret keeper. He was my strength. Obviously, he wasn't perfect. He came from his own life and addictions and issues. And in no way was our relationship perfect. We had our own struggles. But the thing about my dad is he was safe. He was a person I trusted. And he was the first person who truly showed me what love was. And so our bond was really unlike most people's relationship with their dad.
For sure.
And so losing him, my whole world fell apart. And really because he was my whole world. I had a lot of influence from other family and from my grandparents. And so that was there. But, he was my parent and I didn't have siblings. And so for me that day, it was like, I have no one almost, and
oh man, I can't even imagine.
Yeah. So it was obviously something I never want to really relive. Thank goodness I don't have to, but I don't really wish that on anyone, because the grief, unless you've been through something like that and you've lost someone so close to you, you really don't know how to help another person. So losing him became really a defining point in my life. It took me about a year. I lost myself for about a year. I didn't care. I ate, I drank, I lost myself to where I'm like, what else do I have to lose? Like, you can take anything else and I don't care.
Yeah. Wow.
So I wasn't in a good place for about a year. And then it really was like on his year anniversary to the day where I swear he like slapped me. And I woke up one morning and it was just, what the hell are you doing? Get your life together. And so I was like, okay, well, I have a choice. I can open my own private practice. That's a dream. It's been a childhood dream. Or I'm going to just sell everything and move to Mexico and erase everyone's number. Like, really, those were my two choices.
Really? You really thought of that?
Yeah, because for me, I'm like, what else do I have to lose?
Yeah.
I can figure my life out. I can go work as a beach bum. Like, I'll figure it out. So obviously I chose the first.
Yeah. I mean, this might sound like a easy question that I should know this, but were you depressed? Were you just like, you know what? I don't care about me, life, or,
I think I was lost. Like, obviously that's part of depression, but I think I just was lost. And, when I didn't have really, I mean, I had my family, right? But I didn't really have those anchors here anymore. And so for me, it was like, what do I have to lose? I didn't have my career at that point. I could get a job anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't have kids. So for me, yeah, it was just, I was in a deep, dark place of that grief, and I just didn't have that direction.
That feeling you had where you felt like on the anniversary where you kind of slapped and woke up, did it feel like the same experience you had with your uncle? Like that kind of thing?
Yeah, similarly. I think it was more so like, being in the grief fog for so long, you don't think straight.
Right.
It was finally for the first time that like there wasn't that fog. It was like I had sunshine and there was just clarity, and it was like, get your life together.
Yeah.
And then, from that moment, I think it was that week that I went into the practice that I was working at, and I was like, hey, here's my notice. I'm leaving you in July. And she was like, what? And I was like, I'm going to open my practice. And my friends, there were a couple friends that were like, Rhonda, you can't do this in a couple months. And I was like, watch me.
Yeah. Well, again, it goes back to that, how you were cultivated as this young child. You're like, I'll show you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
fast
powerful.
forward July, Healing Feathers existed. And I had a friend of mine who came to me and he was like, what if you fail? And I remember looking at him and saying, I'll give this a year. And if it doesn't work out, then I'll figure it out. Like at this point, I think for me, it was more so like a checkbox that I was marking of, I have wanted this my life.
Yeah.
I promised my dad that I would do this. This is my opportunity. If I sink in flames, so be it.
Yeah.
But I can check it off the list, and it's going to be a lesson in life that I've learned.
Right.
So I opened the fall before COVID. I found an office, put everything together. I mean, I did things really fast, and compared to other, entrepreneurs.
Sure. Yeah, you were going.
It was easy, quote unquote easy.
Yeah.
I put the office together, and because of the brand and the reputation that I had built within that community, I had a wait list within 2 weeks. I was already on about a 6-month wait list. And so that was the moment that I was like, I was like, I got to hire. And then it was like, what are you doing? You don't have a business plan. I don't have a handbook. What am I doing? So that was how it started. And then fast forward now, it'll be 7 years this year that we've been existing. And, it really took from my grief to create my story. And it's just evolved a lot of the strength, the resilience. A lot of my childhood has also been what I have now taken and I do speaking gigs about, or I tell far as my story. It's just, I took everything that I've done and poured my heart into it so that I can be that motivation or that educator or that healer for other people.
Wow.
So there was a lot in there, but that's kind of the story and the origination of how it's coming.
No, that's, again, you're turning your pain into purpose.
Yeah.
And I love how determined you are. Like, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to give it a shot. Like you said, it's almost like because of, the loss of your father, your uncle, your mom, even as a young kid, it's almost like, it built up this, I don't care, I can try anything. And if I fail, it doesn't really matter because I've already there's nothing here kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense, what I'm saying.
I think that's what my motivation was.
Yeah.
That losing my dad was my person and so much of my life, and that it was, you can take anything else and I don't really care. It's not going to amount to the pain that I feel with my dad.
Yeah. So obviously you had a purpose of opening this up after your passing of your father.
Yeah.
But what other things were you doing at that time? Because obviously you weren't maybe in the best mental health shape there.
Yeah.
What else were you doing to try to help get you, thinking clearly and feeling better about you and about life?
When I opened, I don't think I was.
Okay.
It really was about a year later. So this is now 2 years after he passed.
Okay.
That I actually kept having people come to me, and they, I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel like I was still really struggling, but I would have people come up to me, coworkers, friends, and they would just look at me and be like, why are you so angry? And I'd be like, I don't understand. Why is everyone telling me I'm angry? Like, and this image of anger is like, I'm not punching walls. I'm not throwing things at you. I'm not cursing at you. Why? And so I went to therapy, and I kind of, I went in honestly, very naively for all my training and education. I went in as probably typically people do, of being like, everyone says I need to be here and I don't know why I'm here. So honestly, it just, even me being a healer and a therapist and having the education, I didn't see how bad I was hurting. And so I had found an amazing therapist, and we sat down, and, she was like, you are angry. Like, it is spewing out of you, even, even though you're not having the typical signs of anger.
Yeah.
So we spent, at that point I had been a year in my business. I had 2 employees by that point, and, I was functioning, and my clients didn't really know. It didn't interfere with my day to day, but internally I was not at all put together.
Okay. Yeah. That makes a little more sense.
Yeah.
But again, it's good that you were willing to at least go seek help and find a therapist, and obviously, that took its own journey as well.
Yeah.
How do you feel like where you're at today, even, how do you look at the loss of your father now, looking back? Like, how do you feel about it today, even?
Honestly, I think it had to happen for me to be here. And I say that to some people, and I get different reactions, because I'm not praying or asking for it to happen again. But I don't know that I would be here. I don't know that I would have done my own self-healing and understood what I do now and use that as a mission statement for what the work that I do. I don't know that I would have found that meaning and that purpose to what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I think for me, my story is public on our website. That's a big reason why people come to us as a therapy group.
Yeah.
As a speaker, it's kind of transformed the brand that now I'm becoming, is that because I've been the dependable one, the strong one, the motivated one, the stubborn one.
Yeah.
Being that strong one, so many of us relate to, but we don't talk about it enough. And as much as there's pride in that strong one got us to where we were or are, there was also a lot of damage with that. And when we have to have, as we are identified as the strong ones, right? We are the ones that most people don't check on, because Rhonda's got it. She's in charge. She gets everything done.
Sure.
I'm the most dependable friend people can say, because I always do what I say I'm going to do. I'm the best business owner because I get things done and I do it really easy.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, I'm exhausted, and we're exhausted, and nobody's checking in on us. And so it's created this narrative. It's created this brand. It's really created this mission and meaning for me of why I am doing this, and why, what are the important parts of my story that I do want to share with others, to create awareness for them, but also to let people know, like, you can still be strong, and you can still be that dependable one that your family or your business or whatever depends on, but that doesn't make it who you are. There's so much more than Ronda Davis than just being the strong one that got through her childhood and overcame all this. And so that's really, I don't know that it would have all happened and exist without him passing away.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. One of the things I teach my clients, and one thing I was taught myself by my mentor, is that life happens for us.
Yeah.
And, you hear that on the surface, you're like, oh yeah, okay, great, whatever. But like, even these difficult things that you've been through, now that you've kind of outlined your life from the time you were born, even, it was like cultivating you and molding you and shaping you into who you are today.
Yeah.
This powerful woman who's out there making a big, huge difference in so many people's lives. And I'm with you. Yeah. You don't wish for any of that, but that's what it got.
Yeah.
I will often say, I took my first drink of alcohol when I was 11, and I'm grateful for it. It opened up 10 years of addiction for me. Yeah. But I'm grateful for it. Yeah. And I'm one of the lucky ones that made it through it. But the reason why I'm grateful for that drink at 11 is I get to sit here and talk to Rhonda today. Yeah. It led to this moment. Yeah. Like, honestly. And I'm going, I wouldn't trade this for anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
I think that that's something that's not talked about, and people don't own their scars, their stories, their triumphs, because, so much of society and therapy, it used to be your past defined you. Yeah. And I've never believed that it's defined us. Absolutely, it's been part of your story, and it should be part of your story. But I don't believe that you being a previous addict, you being, abused, you being neglected is who you are. Right. I think that those are scars that's happened to us that matter, and that's part of your story that needs to be told. And it's not something that we need to hide behind, because you really wouldn't be here today with the lessons, the experiences, the meaning without all of that. And so when people hide from that, it honestly breaks my heart, because I'm like, but you are a person, regardless of what you've been through, the bad, the negative, the ugly, the heartbreak. you still matter, and you
Yeah.
still have a story to tell, and you should be able to say that with no shame, no guilt, or fear
Yeah.
of getting criticized.
Yeah. Love that. You know, you've touched on this a little bit already, but, you know, a lot of people are just existing or living in survival mode versus maybe living and thriving and kind of thing. For those who don't understand, what does survival mode look like? And, you know, how do you really realize that you're actually in that space?
Yeah. Not to go too therapeutically, but I think, right, nowadays everyone's talking about IFS or parts work and authentic self and inner child. Like, there's so many terms being brought around. The simplest way that I can describe it is, if you are in survival mode, you're living for other people. You're acting in roles or continuing patterns because that's what was expected of you.
Okay.
When you are thriving, you are living a life that is genuinely yours. It is you touching authentically to yourself and returning home to who you are meant to be.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of people hear that and they think that they have to have titles or credentials to live that. It's the opposite. It's actually like, I just did a presentation the other day, and I use the example of, it's micro moments. So for you in this moment, do you need water or do you need coffee? Do you want chocolate ice cream or vanilla?
Yeah.
You know, the kindergarten questions, in all honesty, if you asked yourself, it takes 2 seconds to answer. We forget how simple our choices can be and who we are. And oftentimes we take too long to answer those questions, and then we let society or narratives or negative beliefs or other people's voices in our heads, and we start adjusting our choices. We start adjusting behaviors. And when we do that, you're surviving, you're adapting, because those were the patterns that were taught to you. Thriving is when you get to wake up in the day and make choices that are yours, that make you happy, that bring that fire to your soul and make you passionate.
Boy, I think you've explained that better than I think I've ever heard in my life. Seriously,
thank you.
that was, wow. That makes so much sense. And I love how you point out simplicity. I think a lot of times, I mean, we like to overcomplicate everything, it seems like, right, as humans, you know?
Yeah.
And but a lot of times the answer is just right in front of us.
Yeah.
Right? And I love that you point that out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think mental health has always gotten a bad rap because, you know, it started where if you went to therapy, you were basically like, you should be at the hospital, right? And then a lot of people try to debunk it because it's not hard science. The fact of the matter is, like, mental health is just helping you. And you know, whether you're processing trauma, whether you're talking about just getting closer with your authentic self, it's your story. And that's something that I think, well, I know I've talked to so many clients about, but so many people don't get told. Your story is from your perspective. So you and I can be in the same car accident.
Yeah.
In the same moment, you and I are going to remember it differently.
Yeah.
It's how our brain translates and processes memories and processes that trauma. You and I can sit on this podcast, share the same story, and we're going to have a different perspective.
Yeah.
We're going to remember the car that hit us is different colors. We're going to remember that we were coming from school a different direction. People get in this weird argument of, no, that's not how it was. You know, I have so many clients where they're like, well, my sister doesn't remember this way. Okay. That's because it was your sister's story. What's your story? And I tell clients all the time, at the end of the day, when you're processing things, it's your story, and none of us can actually fact check it.
Yeah.
Right? It's not history class where I can go back and tell you 10 years ago on Tuesday, October 3rd, this car accident happened and it was actually a black car.
Yeah.
And when I tell that to clients, it's almost like they take a breath of fresh air. It's this relief of, oh. And I tell them, it doesn't matter what color the car is. That's not what the trauma is in your brain.
Sure.
The trauma is how you were impacted. The emotions that came from that event are what we focus on. I don't care what color it was or what day of the week it was. But when we have these conversations with our families, or sometimes even with our therapists, it becomes that feud of details, and the details really don't matter, because in mental health, it's about what happened to you emotionally, somatically, internally. And if you can't tell that version, that's why you're stuck.
Gotcha.
That's why talk therapy, you know, a lot of people are like, it's why talking about it often doesn't help, because talking is like, well, what day of the week was it? What color of the car was it? What, you know, what were you and your brother doing?
Yeah. Okay. Well said. You believe that we're not broken.
Yeah.
Why is that so critical in the healing process of helping someone understand that?
Well, I mean, I think, again, it comes back to...
I want to take a moment to express my heartfelt gratitude to the incredible sponsors of the Beliefcast podcast. First, Craig from Craig Swap and Associates. If you need an attorney, he's your guy. Trustworthy, compassionate, always there when you need him most. Next, Wasatch Recovery, the greatest university on the planet, transforming lives one day at a time. Sandy from Minky Couture, the creative genius behind the most comfortable blanket you'll ever wrap yourself in. Comfort like no other. Special thanks to the award-winning pianist Paul Cardall for his beautiful music that brings inspiration to every episode.
My childhood of people would look at my life and assume that I was going to be this broken kid that just couldn't exist in the world, couldn't take up space, couldn't be successful because of the childhood that I was born into.
Yeah.
And so it goes back to those negative beliefs, right? Is we adapt so easily what we hear and what's placed upon us. And so people today have these beliefs that they're not worthy, that they're not good enough, that they're broken.
Yeah.
And that's, I guess, my biggest mantra that I just want people to hear is it doesn't matter what you've been through. Just because you've been through some horrendous, awful things doesn't mean that you're broken. Yes, when things happen, there's parts of ourselves that we neglect or that we abandon or that people have abandoned. But just because those parts are forgotten doesn't mean that they're not part of you.
Yeah.
You know, it's really like Inside Out, the movie. I use that example a lot. The parts that we lose about ourselves don't just disappear. You know, they don't get lost in the trash can from 10 years ago.
Yeah.
They just aren't looked at. So they're literally like that book on your shelf that you haven't touched in 2 decades. It's still there. It still exists. You just haven't found that part of you. But you're not broken. It's just about being able to find and see that piece of you again and allow it to come back into your puzzle.
Yeah. Beautifully said. I have a quote up on my wall up here.
Yeah.
And I have my clients on day one read it out loud. Do you mind reading that for us?
Yeah, sure. The most delightful surprise in life is to suddenly recognize there is nothing wrong with you.
Yeah. And I think I'm on the same page as you, because I used to think for my, if I look back in my life, I had this belief I was broken, damaged, and something was wrong with me. And it wasn't until someone taught me the truth. It's kind of like what you do now with your clients.
Yeah.
And I think that is such a major breakthrough, is realizing, oh, no, there's really, I'm good.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I don't have stuff to work on, but ultimately to my core, I'm a good person and I'm a good, I'm good overall.
Yeah.
So I love that you share that and teach that to your clients.
Yeah. I think that's missing in the mental health field, in the recovery field.
I couldn't agree more.
I think that there's a way that, yes, we show up in certain addictions or in certain therapy roles to where we get so hyper focused on your diagnosis or your substance of choice.
Yep.
And then you kind of become this stereotypical thing that is now your identity, not recognizing like you turned to alcohol because you coped.
Yeah.
You turned to this addiction because you adapted.
Yep. And
why are we focusing on that bad thing you did when it was a coping mechanism? To be honest, we all have them.
Yeah.
Right? Mine going to the gym can be very different or unhealthier, right, than you choosing alcohol.
Right.
But that doesn't necessarily make me a mentally healthier person.
Right.
And we don't focus on you as the person enough. We don't focus on you telling that story. We focus on Todd and why he chose alcohol or Ronda becoming this diagnosis. And I think that's what keeps people stuck. I also think what gives the recovery field, the mental health field, a really bad name because it prevents people from going and wanting that shame or wanting to fit into that diagnosis because then they are deemed as this bad, crazy, unworthy person.
Yeah. Wow. Has anyone ever told you that you have a really good way, simple way of explaining things?
Thank you.
Like you really do. That's probably why you're so good at what you do, because it makes such sense as you're saying this. And I know the listeners are probably going, wow, that is, perfectly said.
Yeah.
And I think because of what you've been through, but I think it sounds like you simplify things. You just like, here's what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Forget all the rest of the stuff.
Yeah.
So I think you do a great job
Thank
with that.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I honestly think that's why coming to our office, it's different. You know,
Yeah.
so many people say like they graduate or they heal, not because I'm not showing up professionally or ethically, but I'm not showing up as the probably textbook therapist that
Yeah.
people think. When I get up
Right.
on stage, I don't show up as this mental health therapist that's going to teach you
Yeah.
all these therapeutic words. I talk to you like this. I call you on your bullshit. You know, I talk to you just as a normal person,
Yeah.
because even my staff, when I do interviews, I sit down with them and I'm like, hey, cool. I see your resume. Who are you as a person?
Yeah.
And I think that that's just not something we do. And if you can't see that person as a person, then you're not doing your job. I don't care what education you have, what trainings you have. If you can't look at another person and just see them as a person who has experiences, life
Right.
things they've been through,
Yeah.
I don't think you're doing your job to the best of your ability. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
But it is, I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's what makes me different, is because I can make it a conversation. I don't have to get in this room and show you like, I'm the therapist and look at all of my education and my credentials and my skills, because I mean, I don't even have my degree up on my wall, and I do that. I mean, I don't need it. I don't need it to be able to help
you're
you
just
share
real.
your story. I'm a very authentic person.
Yeah, you're real, and you just say it like it is, and I appreciate that so much. And I love that about what you're doing there.
Thank you.
You know, your practice is called Healing Feathers.
Yep.
Do you mind sharing why you named it that?
Yeah, so it goes back to kind of spirituality. The fall, actually, before my dad passed away, my cousin, she had found a psychic medium, and she wanted to go for her dad. He had passed many, many years before, but it was her first experience, and she was nervous, and so we went to this psychic together. And the medium in session, she out of nowhere, were like, what do feathers mean to you? Weirdly enough, the day before I left for grad school, so again, this is like 6-7 years prior,
Right. Yeah.
my best friend and I had gone and got a feather tattoo, and the tattoo artist was like, what do feathers mean? I was like, I don't know, I've just always been attracted to them.
Yeah.
So had the medium appointment, and she had said someone very close to you is going to pass in March. We assumed it was my grandpa, because he was like, he's kind of older, you're really close to him.
Yeah.
And so fast forward to that March, my dad passed away, and I was like, holy shit. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So dad passed away. Year goes by. I start coming up with the idea about opening my practice. Our family property where my dad passed away on, I had taken his dog, my dad's dog that I adopted. We went on a hike, and I just, because I was angry and still grieving,
Sure. Yeah.
I kind of put it to the universe, and I was like, okay, if I'm supposed to get my life together, then you need to give me a clear-cut sign. And something that I can't argue, I can't debate. It can't be, the wind passing and being like, okay.
Yeah.
13 feathers of all shapes, sizes, colors, where I found them. No one else at that camp trip saw them. I didn't say anything, because for me, I'm like, is that really happening?
Yeah.
This is in the desert, so it's not like we're at Sugar House Park, like where birds would be flying. And so I took that, I came home, and I was like, okay, so feathers is going to be part of the name. And then I was actually sitting with a client, letting her know like my transition, and I'm going to be transitioning.
Yeah.
And she said, well, what's the name? And I said, I don't really know. And we were talking, and I told her the feather story, and she goes, well, what do you want to do with people? And I said, help them heal. She goes, great, healing feathers. And I was like, oh my, it was like my mind blew, because everything connected.
It's like, wow, there it is.
Yeah. So part of it was to really just honor the spiritual connection of the feathers. But feathers, whether it's in grief, different cultures, there's a lot of meaning.
Sure.
And so I use that. It's healing feathers is a non-traditional trauma-informed practice. We don't focus on talk therapy. And so we see a lot of clients from various backgrounds who, a lot of religious trauma, a lot of people that have lost their families because of sexual identities or things like that. And so people see that you come as you are. We don't care if you're religious. We don't care what community you're part of. We see you as a person. And we use that, the feather analogy or the feather meaning as part of your healing.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah.
I love that.
So very different. Again, goes back to kind of my stubbornness of I didn't want to be Ronda Davis counseling. I wanted to be different.
And I think that's what makes it so amazing as well.
It's also
so
a
cool.
name, right? You kind of remember when people see it, they may not meet me, but it's fun when I meet people. They're like, healing feathers.
Yeah.
I know you. And I'm like, but so it's different. It sets, my office apart from the mental health world kind of.
Yeah. No, I love it. I think that's so beautiful. I love the symbolism of it, and
Thank you.
it's cool how that all came about.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. Your whole story has been like that. Like all these
Yeah.
things are like placed in front of you, like as for you to recognize and go, oh, here's where I'm going, or here's
Yeah.
what. Yeah. You've been guided.
Yeah,
It feels
I'm
like-
very lucky, and
Yeah.
I know not everyone has that, and so I am very humble
Mm-hmm.
because I also don't want it to go away. You know, selfishly,
right,
I'm
yeah.
like, don't go
Yeah,
away.
please. Yeah, keep it coming.
But that's a big thing we talk about with clients. You know, people come in
Mm-hmm.
who are very, very lost because of, you know, potentially their own religious trauma, their faith crisis, and they lose someone, and they're like,
Yeah.
I don't know what to believe, and
Yeah.
that's where I break it down when I do my keynotes about grief, or when I do presentations. Same thing, I simplify it. I don't get in there and I talk to you about the stages of grief and let's walk through this. I go through it and say, this is grief and it's shitty and you're not going to feel better and you're going to feel like your heart has been ripped through your chest. Is that how you're feeling? Right? And then people are like, oh my gosh, you see me.
She's hitting it.
Yeah. But I'm like, if we can't talk about it from that, if we can't normalize
Yeah.
what this process is, you're not going to heal. You're not going to be able to talk about it ever.
I love that because I think, I don't like it when it gets all textbook. Here's the definitions. Here's the, and I love the real talk because that's what people relate to anyways.
Yeah.
Versus having all these things. So again, I love your approach.
Thank you.
I love what you do. So if someone's right now listening to your voice and they've tuned into this episode and they're in a really bad spot, they're in a dark place in their life, and they're listening to you right now.
Yeah.
What would you tell that person?
You're not alone, and there are people that want to hear your story and help you. A lot of people feel like they don't know where to start and it's overwhelming. Just start. Pick up the phone and call someone that you trust and tell them you need support. You don't need to have a plan. You don't need to even use the words therapy. You need to stop being that strong one, the afraid one, the shame one. You need to pick up the phone and just ask for support from someone, and letting that community in is your first step. We don't talk about it enough. We don't talk about the emotions of vulnerability.
Sure.
Men have it even worse, but I promise you, if you pick up that phone and you at least state your needs, tell someone this is where I'm at, there is someone who is going to support you.
Yeah.
You know, and there are resources, there are therapists out there, and obviously that's the next step.
Right.
But I think, you know, when you're in that dark place, you just want to be heard. You don't want to even be fixed in that moment. You just need to know that you're not alone. So pick up that phone, someone who trusts, someone who you're close to, someone that even if you haven't talked to them in months, pick up the phone and just call. Yeah. Because you're not alone, and you don't have to do this alone.
Yeah. I think a lot of time, well said, by the way. Thank you. And I think too, we all, when we are struggling, we think we're going to be a burden on the other person. But I always ask, well, if they were to call you right now, would they be a burden to you? You're like, absolutely not. I'd love to help anybody. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. We're our own worst enemies, really. And that's what I tell clients too, in the sense that people really do, at the core of their existence, right, will help other people. Yeah. And any one of us would do it. I mean, even if it was a colleague of mine, I would pick up the phone and be there. So I think too, it's thinking outside of that box. If you don't feel safe to go to your family, or you don't feel ready, maybe not even safe, but you don't feel ready to admit where you're at with your closest people, call that person that you just have had that connection with, or that you trust. Sure. And reach out that arm. Yeah. Because there are people that genuinely will help. And I think at the end of the day, most of us in our communities and our circles would do anything to that first step for that person. Yeah. But if we don't know, we can't help.
What's that old saying? 20 seconds of insane courage.
Yeah.
Just pick up that phone. Yeah. Send a text, call someone, that kind of thing. So.
Yeah. I mean, right. I mean, I've had my clients aren't the ones who call me in desperation. It's usually people that I've met at networking events. Yeah. It's people that I haven't talked to in sometimes years. It's people from high school that message me on Facebook. Yeah. And I'm here. Like, I welcome that, but I use that as an example of sometimes we don't go to the people that we would assume to. Yeah. You just have to trust someone in your community, in your circle.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Thank you for sharing that. And those are wise words for those out there who are in that spot. if someone wants to learn more about what you do, even, use your services or learn more about your speaking events and your practice, what would be the best way for them to do that?
Yeah. So people can check out our website, www.healingfeatherstherapy.com. That's usually where everything is listed. Okay. Primarily, a lot of the information there is going to be for anyone wanting to come for mental health support. But there is a webpage about me, speaking events, downloads. I'm relaunching my podcast, so that date will be on there.
Awesome.
And then on our socials. So on
Okay.
Instagram, I do have a Healing Feathers page. It's Healing Feathers UT that people can look up. And then my personal is Ronda_Rue that people can follow along with and see where I'm at, or if they're interested to just contact me.
Love it. And we'll put those links out there. So
great.
when we go live with this, they can just click right to you and get to you. And
awesome.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah.
I mean, you're easy to talk to.
Thank you.
Yeah, this has been so wonderful. Thanks for your explanations and making it simple. There's a lot of things I love about this conversation, but one of the things that stood out is you see people as just who they are.
Yeah.
And that really hits me hard.
Yeah.
I think that's also missing
Mm-hmm.
in the world today.
Yeah.
Forget even the therapy part of stuff, just in general.
Yeah.
We just need to look at people. They're people, and they're worthy and they matter.
Yeah.
And if we can just treat people that way,
yeah,
what a different world we would live in. And boy, it's starving for it right now. So your words are powerful and well needed right now.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just be kind. I think that's the thing is everyone, it does not matter where you meet them.
Right.
They have a background. They have a story. And to me, it doesn't matter how successful or rich or famous or lack thereof that they are. They all have a story. And at the end of the day, we are all human beings.
Yeah.
We all can be kind to one another and do something in the micro moments to make someone else's day.
Yeah.
And we talk about it and we post about it a lot.
Yeah.
But are you actually practicing
Are you doing it?
Because the practice is going to be potentially what could change someone's life in that moment.
Yes. Practice it. Get out there and do it.
Yeah.
Well said. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Rhonda.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Love what you do. Love the way you carry yourself. And this has been such a blessing for me today to hear firsthand your story. And I can't wait to, when this goes live to everyone, and it's going to be great.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having me. And yeah, I'm big in collaboration, connection. So if anyone has questions or needs support, or if I can't help you, I am a person that I can be used as a resource to help people connect others.
Beautiful.
So,
okay.
Thanks, Todd.
You bet. Well, there you go, folks. Ronda Davis, powerhouse. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. Thanks for listening week after week. What I love most about all of you listening is you share these episodes, and I know you'll do that with Rhonda's. Share it with your loved ones, especially those you might know that are struggling. This might break the ice to them, and that you can walk up to them and say, hey, what did you think of that episode? Where can I help you? That kind of thing. So please do that. Thanks to my sponsors. You guys are the best. Thanks for believing in me and what I do here. I'm just wouldn't be here without all you guys. It just kind of blows my mind right now. So thank you. And till next time, everyone, take care.